This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. The scripted scandal. There are so many going on in Washington that it's become an utter joke. Of course, nobody's suspicious on the alt-right as to how and why all these stories just constantly get out. If we all view the mainstream media as controlled and corrupt, then why would you think that all of these stories about cocaine in the White House, corruption in the White House, and now even a story like this going on in the White House aren't out there and quote-unquote leaked by design? Well, of course they are. Because remember, to bring in a communist government, all institutions must crumble. The infrastructure itself has to be torn down. And that's what the Democratic Party is doing. The Democratic Party is now really the Communist Party. It has been for quite some time. But they're literally not even faking it anymore and calling themselves the Democrats. They literally are calling them socialist Democrats, which is another word for communism. So this story couldn't be more scripted that has come out. And it has gaslighted the alt-right into insanity, right? With the stuff I just mentioned, all these stories have been going on over the last couple of years at the White House with the nonstop garbage that they're doing, which is just depravity, right? And currently trending on Twitter, this story was trending, but also Sodom and Gomorrah. So you can see that they're gaslighting people with a story like this that only gets out if they want it to get out, okay? But people believe that the Democrats in power are so tone deaf that they do this stuff purposely. They do this stuff to tear down the institution, to cause some type of revolution, which will be caused as a false flag that they'll be in control of on the left and the right. But this is to psychologically convince you that when all this stuff goes down, that it's going to happen organically. You know, this is all scripted and planned. That's why stories like this get out. There is no way that this could ever possibly happen without them wanting it to happen and then putting it out there. The security, and there's security, at a mall, right? When the mall closes for the night, there's security there. So we're supposed to believe at the Senate that this happened. And if you're not sure what I'm referencing, well, let me just try to word it for you without the algorithm getting triggered off here. But supposedly, a U.S. Senate staffer was filming Hershey Highway acts in the Senate hearing room, and even the footage got out there. Now, I'm not going to play for you the footage clip because, well, for your sake and my sake, I didn't have plans in my schedule today to stab myself in the eyeballs, so I won't go through with that. But you could see, just a basic screenshot of the guy's back, and then you could try not to use your imagination because I'm not, trying to get anybody out there to cover themselves in their own vomit today. But this is what's being released. This is being put out there. And then, of course, the guy involved in it's tweeting out all about it, right? I'm in love and I don't know. And, and it just gaslights everybody into insanity. How could this be allowed in the Senate? How can it be allowed in the Senate? It could be allowed in the Senate, not because of corrupt Democrats, because of corrupt politicians all around. Because security just happened to be standing down, just like they were standing down in the Middle East a couple months ago at the perfect time to start a war. Just like right now, all these things happen in the White House, and there's no trials for anything. They're doing coke in the White House. These stories that they put out there, and you got to understand every single thing that comes out. These all could easily be covered up. And you can look at this story and say, well, how could they cover that up if he's going to tweet it out? Well, what do you think? This guy is actually in the Senate, and he's that tone deaf. He's that stupid that he would put this out there, risk his job, risk federal imprisonment for doing something like this. Give me a break. I mean, I know that that's the problem, is that they play the role so well. The Democrats in power, they play the role of the bumbling fool so well. Like the Three Stooges is really the script that they're playing. They play it so good that it is believable. But all one has to do, like I've shown in the past, is watch these films that show you the predictive programming, right? Nobody ever thinks about why Hot Shots, Scary Movie, those types of movies, why there's been so many movies in the 90s and 80s, all the way up until now, that had the president literally playing a bumbling fool. And nobody goes, who is this based off of? Was it based off Ronald Reagan? I mean, who is this based off of, a bumbling fool? He's playing the role to a T. He's playing the role, right? Like I've shown you in those clip montages in the past, that he's playing a role to convince you that all of this stuff is happening organically. Now, the Illuminati card game has numerous cards, of course, that reference things like this. Scandal. This is always a good scandal. A good scandal will lead to a good gaslighting. A good scandal, especially when one side gets away with it, will lead to a lot of people wanting a revolution, will lead to a lot of people wanting infrastructure, wanting the government to be torn down and built over, getting rid of these people in power, saying that this whole experiment of a way our country was run for all these years didn't work out, right? These are the things that they want to ingrain in people. And they've obviously ingrained it in Democrats, where they look at our country, our government as being messed up and needing to be reworked, even with their Democrats in power, because they can't stand the conservatives so much so. So this stuff is done by design. So let me just read you a little bit of this story so you can pull your hair out. The Daily Caller, a right-wing site founded by former Fox News host Tucker Carlson, okay? So that's where you start with this stuff. Oh, okay, because everyone thinks Tucker Carlson's great because Tucker Carlson left Fox and got millions of dollars to go on Twitter and pretend he's an independent journalist and his truth is too good of truth. Is this stuff, is it starting to ring a bell what they've done here with all truthers and how it's been hijacked by mainstream people? Russell Brand, Tucker Carlson, very rich people, by the way. These are billionaires. Tucker Carlson comes from an elite bloodline. He's not some organically popular person like others who have been on YouTube, okay, who have been suppressed, which is not just me mentioning myself. It's many, many people who are long gone. These people have hijacked the movement on purpose because they're going to be hurting their audience. So how did Tucker Carlson come across this? The Daily Caller, what did they go through the guy's phone? Oh, is this guy's dumb enough to be posting these online? It's unbelievable. And what it does is it helps build up Tucker Carlson's quote unquote brand and the Daily Caller as these alt-right, they're real truth. Fox, because people have caught on that Fox News is controlled. But what nobody talks about is how all of this is controlled. All of this information that comes out in the mainstream, and this is mainstream, is controlled. It doesn't get out unless they want it to get out. They can nip these things immediately before they ever make it to the internet. So Daily Caller, a right-wing site founded by Tucker Carlson, uploaded video and still images on Friday that purported to show leaked cell phone video of a congressional male staffer engaged in fudge sex in a Senate hearing room of the Hart Senate office building, which is not in the U.S. Capitol building, according to unverified posts on X and multiple conservative or right-leaning news outlets. The male staffer is an aide for U.S. Senator Ben Cardin, of course, who's a Democrat. The 80-year-old lawmaker announced in May that he would not seek re-election next year. The staffer later issued a statement on LinkedIn that appeared to deny the allegations. This has been a difficult time for me as I've been attacked for who I love to pursue a political agenda. So, of course, there's so many undertones to this, right? For who he loves, having deplorable, committing a deplorable, just revolting act, the type of act that would make most human beings, even though a lot won't admit it, throw up on cue, on the spot when they actually saw this. It's an act of love, right? It's this warped world we live in. So, according to, the statement continued. While some of my actions, this is what he said, some of my actions in the past have shown poor judgment. I love my job and would never disrespect my workplace. Any attempts to characterize my actions otherwise are fabricated, and I'll be exploring what legal options are available to me in these matters. We have seen media reports emanating from right-wing media, the senator. This is the thing. It's like, this is how warped they've got people with the left and the right. Right-wing this, left-wing that. There's no right from wrong anymore. What this does is just continues to know. Everybody should band together, even if they're gay, and be like, this is disgusting. And, well, I guess if they're not, they wouldn't say it was disgusting, but it is disgusting. Everybody should band together and just be like, why are these people that are supposedly, put in these positions of power from us, working for us, doing this stuff? They're doing coke in there. They're doing this in there, right? Meanwhile, we go to the grocery store. Everything's triple in price. No, they keep you in that left-right hive mind so that you just fight amongst each other and nothing ever gets resolved. It's the mouse in a wheel. You go back and forth on a seesaw. Oh, look at what these Democrats are doing now. And then the next thing is some type of an event happens with a gun that's, of course, started by the CIA and a false flag. Then the Dems go, look at these crazy conservatives going around with their guns and doing all this stuff at schools. We got to do that. And they just go back and forth. Nothing gets resolved until they blow this whole thing up, because they're going to convince people that it's blowing up because their heads are going to explode from all the gaslighting that's going on. Right? The gaslighting is just, it's not even being ignited with a match. This thing has just gotten like millions of pounds of gasoline and kerosene, everything you can name that's lighter fluid is being dumped on the American people. And they're just using like the biggest match you could possibly imagine to light it every single day. And all these stories just get out by design because you could see what an uproar the MAGA crowd is in over this. And of course, they should be in. Any regular person, no matter your politics, should be in an uproar about this. Is disgusting behavior in so many different ways. And the fact that it's being filmed and everyone is so desensitized, they're like, on the left, they're like, this is normal stuff now. I mean, it's depravity. And these are people that are supposed to be working for you. So you take out whatever your take is on if two men should be together, etc., and just take it to the point where you go, this is our government. They're supposed to be our employees helping infrastructure, building infrastructure. And of course, by design, because they're all Masons and part of secret societies, they're destroying infrastructure. So the fact that this guy puts out a statement immediately just shows you how scripted this is. He isn't even, he has no awareness. He put this out and he's already seeking legal action. I mean, seeking legal action. First of all, how did somebody get video of this of your phone? Right? I mean, nobody thinks of the whole process, how it got out. What was he posting it? You're telling me he was so stupid that he was posting this stuff on his Instagram and he wants to have a career in politics and he isn't smart. Like nobody was like, hey, you probably shouldn't put that out there. Probably end your career quick. And he's like, oh, nobody will see it. I'll only post it on my OnlyFans account, huh? Or whatever account the guy's got it. Put on his Twitter account, supposedly. I mean, yes, we could tell Democrats are tone deaf. And yes, because the people in Congress are playing it so well. But nobody can be this stupid, okay? Nobody can be this stupid. And of course, this is like the ultimate gaslighting tool right now for conservatives because everybody's already had enough. But what they really should be focusing on is what's actually happening in front of us, right? The government, when you elect people to serve you, there's nothing in there that says, if you were to elect these people, which we know we don't, they're selected. There's nothing in there that says, hey, when you elect these people, they can destroy the entire infrastructure of our government and create a new one. Like when you're voting at the ballot, you're not supposed to be voting for communism versus capitalism. You're supposed to just be voting for one guy versus the other. One guy will claim he's going to be for civil rights. The other guy will claim he'll lower your taxes. That's it. The structure itself is supposed to be in place, right? Nobody's talking about the fact that these people are literally communists, that we've gone to war after war after war to prevent communism from happening in this country. And of course, communism now is called woke. And that's another thing the alt-right doesn't point out. It is the same thing. It has the same exact talking points. If you go through the Communist Manifesto, it is the woke manifesto. Okay, and these people think that they're causing a revolution. That's called a communist revolution, a communist uprising, to overthrow government and bring in a communist regime where you think that the people are, in charge and the people are taking back power. This is enslavement. The people have no power. The corporations aren't run by people. They're run by the government. Government runs Amazon, works with Google. So none of these people have a clue how any of it works, and they think that they do, but they don't. So obviously what I'm trying to say about this is that you don't vote to remove capitalism. That's not on the ballot. And anybody that tries to remove capitalism, this is a capitalist country, should be arrested for treason. That's what this whole argument should go back to about all of it. It's not about left. It's not about right. It's about treason. Nobody in their right mind has agreed to allow the government to go in there and remove capitalism, turn it into communism, okay? And the only way it's physically possible for them to do it, the only way, because nobody would agree and vote and say, let's turn it into a communist country, okay? Because everybody even looks at China and goes, oh, that's a nightmare over there. Even Democrats do, right? Most of them. The only way they could do that is by destroying it. And they're never going to call it communism. It's going to have new words, just like the OSS becomes the CIA. It'll just be called something new. Because then people will go like, look, we've all worked together to achieve this, and now we have a new government structure that's for the people. It's communism with a new name. So that's what really should be happening here. Just like when I talked about the Satanic Monument. And some people are like, you're not for this? Of course I'm for it. But the notion of the whole thing is ridiculous. How we've allowed them to even do this and exist in our society. They shouldn't be allowed to exist in our society, right? And this shouldn't be happening either. We shouldn't even be having a debate about this stuff. These people should be gone for committing treason. This is what the Bill of Rights and the Constitution are set up for, but they're not in place anymore. So if they keep gaslighting you and doing stuff like this, they keep winning. Right? Because then everybody out on both sides goes, we have to change this whole thing. We got to throw these people out. And they're not doing this accidentally. These things aren't getting out accidentally. Never, if you actually think back, and other than Bill Clinton's thing, which was nothing compared to some of the stuff that's happened in the last couple of years, in hindsight, or Watergate, which is really nothing. Nothing compares to what we've seen. We've seen without trials, right? Without arrest, without impeachment, right? Why do you think they're showing you all this stuff with Biden and drugs in the White House? It's because people are going insane, being gaslit. And so why is there no impeachment? Why is there no impeachment? Well, no one's going, how is this getting out? Why is it getting out? They control the media, right? They control free speech. They stop people like us from even talking on the internet, let alone on the national media. They push the narrative out there because they want it out there. Because if they keep us divided, nobody will realize what's actually going on. No one will realize that they're actually doing this by design. They'll just realize and look at one another and point a finger at one another. So I can't say it enough how important that is. So let me just finish up with the article here. So the senator's office said, we've seen media reports emanating from the right-wing media. At this is a personal matter and under review. We will not be commenting further at this time. So this will be maybe even something that gets ignored, like most things seem to be getting ignored in Congress. The Washington Free Beacon reported the staffer had published other pornographic images and video content on X with an account that used a pseudonym but was public. How do you even post this stuff on Twitter? How can you post pornography? That's the funniest thing about YouTube. There's tons of stuff that is awfully close to pornography on here, if not considered it, right? You've all seen stuff. There's true crimes that come out where there's like, people are doing these really creepy acts on YouTube and it borderlines on, what's adult content, what's not. Meanwhile, people like me are showing you, here's a screenshot of a symbol, and this is what the symbol means. Oh, hate speech, bullying, and harassment. Oh, controversial conspiracy, right? What's the stuff they don't want you to hear about versus the stuff they want you to see? If it's depravity, they want you to see it. If it's something that might wake you up to what they're actually doing, they don't want you to see it. So they say as far as accusations regarding Congressman Max Miller is another, he's a Republican, of course, who tweeted something out. These politicians are playing a role with social media. People are just like, well, that's the new way of social media. They're gaslighting people with social media. And that's why politicians are playing the role of being so tone deaf about the stuff they tweet and they put out. They are doing everything they can. Now, you remember the Illuminati card? One of the easiest ones to see. International Communist Conspiracy, right? I played the things from Pawns in the Game before, right? I played that clip from Pawns in the Game, which goes back a long, long time ago. William Guy Carr. And, that's what they're talking about. International Communist Conspiracy. That's what this is. It's all the countries working together to bring in a new world order, right? And everybody goes, yeah, okay, right, they're bringing in a new world. Well, all the infrastructures of all the governments have to crumble. So they have to keep doing ridiculous things like this. These are the types of things that can bring the whole thing down, okay? Scandal, the people inside of there. How would they get in there? What are they doing? How does this guy have access to these things to do this without security? There's no cameras. Nobody picked this up. Though there's no night security in there. I mean, there's mall security, okay, for the mall, for like Walmart, for these stores, right? You're telling me at a Senate building, even though it's not the main building, like, oh, it's not the main building. Okay. There's no night shift there, especially with all the stuff that supposedly happened on the 6th day of January. There's no shift there that sees this act starting to act out. Like with, just envision the night guard sitting there with 20 monitors, right? What are we supposed to believe? It's Homer Simpson and he's sitting there and he's reading a newspaper, not paying attention to it. Oh, of course these idiots believe that because they believe everything. They believe everything they're told. So no security guard saw an act that probably went on for a period of time. I mean, they went in there, they got dressed, they performed the act, they put the lights on in there. No security guard happened to catch it, go in there and arrest them. It was just, and then on top of it, he was so tone deaf, he posted on social media without thinking, wow, I could lose my job. I could go to jail for a federal crime. Give me a break. This is just a continuation of infrastructure destruction, and it's scripted. Just like the Illuminati card scandal. One of many scandals. Now, this card isn't referencing this specific event, probably. At least not now, because this isn't getting as big of attention yet, because it's brand new. But scandal after scandal after scandal is the name of the game. Because every time there's a scandal, people demand change. And they don't realize that they want you to demand change, because they're going to give you change. Their change, not the change you think that you're going to help bring about. It's all psychologically done by design. The sooner you start understanding how the brain works, you start learning hypnosis. If everybody studies psychology, they'd wake up pretty quick. They hear psychology, like, well, that sounds really serious. It's not as serious as it thinks if you actually break it down. Why people are acting the certain way that they're acting. Why people are regressing and trying to act like children again. why people do this, why people do that. It's psychological. It's a psychological thing. They're hurting people. And I use the zoo example every time I talk about this because to me, it's the easiest way to explain it, right? A lion out in the open is going to murder you. Okay, go near a lion, have fun in the middle of Africa or somewhere. The lion's going to eat your throat. A lion in a zoo is in a zoo because they know how to herd him and keep him under control in the zoo. That's why guys can go near the lion in the zoo. That's why you could train a dog because you psychologically, oh, now the dog's going to sit and obey for a treat. Yeah, they do the same thing with human beings. That's what they're doing here. And people are like, no, they don't. Well, why do you think they've turned you into narcissists for with social media? So that you think that nobody can outsmart you, nobody can trick you, nobody can hurt you. You're your own independent person. That's why they feed you lines like, be your best you. You're you. You're doing this independently. No, you're not. You're in a simulated reality that they're controlling. And when you start understanding psychology, you realize why these stories are out there and what they're trying to do. And that's what they want to stop you from realizing. Waking up psychologically to the psychosis that they're putting you in. That's why I'm constantly silenced. Because normal people like me, when I speak to normal people like you, and you realize, oh, okay, well, left and right's not about that. And you start actually critically thinking, you realize, wow, they're really playing with you. They're messing with you, right? You look at like relationships, you're like, boy, my girlfriend really messed with me. She did a number on me. Do you ever hear people say that? Or a boyfriend say, my girlfriend did a number, whatever, your opposite, whoever you're dating did a number. Oh, yeah, and they psychologically did this, and they tricked you, and they did that, right? But you don't think the government would do that to you? The most wicked people who are corrupt? The liberals look at conservatives and Trump as the most corrupt people ever. Okay, fine. And the other side looks at the other side as, okay, fine. So you understand, do you see that these people in power are not good people? They're wicked people, and they don't want to lose power. And they don't want you to wake up, and they psychologically hurt you, and they don't want you to wake up from the psychosis because they know if we unite as people and citizens, we could stop this from happening. And that's the biggest threat to them, people like us who could wake people up to this and actually do something about it, which is get them out, put them in jail, arrest them, life sentences. And that's being very nice and that's being very nice of me just saying life sentence in prison. All right. So keep an eye on this scandal. I'm sure it'll be trending. Of course, Sodom and Gomorrah is trending, and that's great that Sodom and Gomorrah is trending. I mean, it should always be trending, really. But you see where this is headed. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.